Look, I think with India, India has become a market that you can't ignore. So if you look even 5 years ago, the weighting in the emerging market index was 9%. That number is now 20%. So it is big, and it's something that you can't ignore. And it's quite a deep and liquid market now in order to invest. India is going to be the world's third largest economy by 2027. It's going to overtake Japan and Germany, and that's on the basis of not making heroic assumptions. So it's a big and relevant market. But it's really the other side of the China coin, which is around, it's a great growth story. There's a lot of long-term structural positives around it, and I think demographics was mentioned earlier by Henry as one of those things. There's other very positive stories around under-penetration in various consumer product categories. The government has been relatively stable since 2014. They've undertaken some very impressive reforms, for example, in GST and tax reforms. They've made their economy more efficient. They've digitized large portions of their economy. They've engaged with lots of consumers. They have a private sector that is pretty vibrant, and the government generally doesn't interfere in the market. But actually it's been, as was said earlier in the opening remarks, it's been a tremendously successful investment and has been one of the top performing markets over the last few years. And so for us, we very much like the structural story behind India. We have a portfolio, we marginally underweight the benchmark. We would like to own more of it, but quite often the challenge is around what's in the price and what's been discounted in the market. So
India can be expensive now, right? It kind of on a relative basis, right?
So relative to its own history and relative to Asia,
Yeah.
It is near the top end of its range.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, in that space, things that we quite like is online food delivery and quick commerce, companies like Zomato. We like the infrastructure story. So there's a 5-year spending program of over $1.5 trillion by the government in various projects. And there's many beneficiaries of that we're invested in. Private healthcare and just consumer staples are areas of the market that we quite like, and financials. But it's that valuation point where you always have to come back to what is your in price and what's been discounted, because that will determine what your IRR is going to be over that investment period.